Well, we're live. Look at that. Another great feed here, Anamoli and Medici. I mean, I'm so happy to have and be on this platform with both of you today. I have my top 1%er on the line.
Let's go.
My computer scientist. Can't ask for more than that. And the master marketer, right? Listen, this is all about what we're doing today. So I'm so fascinated about the new school that you're doing, right? Talk to me about it. Let's talk about what we're doing here and what we're trying to achieve, getting everybody onto this new school platform and helping them. Tell me all about it before we kick off our meeting.
Okay. I think Modise is the best person to talk about it because he's the admin. He's the man in charge of the school. He's a principal of the school.
No, not a problem. Hi, thanks for tuning in. So today's school, discussion is more. So school we're really creating is more about, I would say, business development of not just your business, but of you as an individual as well. Because I mean, ultimately, your business growing is almost a proxy and an addition to you growing as a person as well. So what we're really aiming for is like a holistic growth overview, which we can actually provide. And this is typically like in tune with the Kingdoms podcast because we do have like a lot of highly vetted and highly qualified prospects, which have obviously achieved rather significant outcomes in their lives. So what we did notice was a lot of the people that were applying to actually be part of the podcast didn't actually meet the relevant threshold. And what we decided to do was to kind of provide a platform which would help close that gap essentially. So to allow those that aren't necessarily as advanced or as well developed in their career to actually have the platform and the resources and the opportunity to actually see from like the people that have obviously met that threshold to kind of learn from them and to also just to get a better sense of what it kind of takes to like take your career to the next level. And in doing so, you'll obviously the end result is you would typically become like a person that is of notable credibility that we can actually feature on the podcast. So that I would say is the core ethos and the crux of why we actually developed the community.
That is fantastic. Listen, building your brand and growing your business, as they put in the chat, that is where it's all out, right? Your brand is everything. If that's one thing I learned about starting my business and becoming an entrepreneur, especially a woman-owned business, you have to network, you have to understand how people view you. So thank you for sharing that. We'll talk more at the end about our school that we're going to be doing. I'm looking forward to joining that and helping business owners and entrepreneurs and anybody, right? So thank you for inviting me to that platform. So let's kick off our meeting today, right? Welcome, everyone. I'm Michelle Novak, founder of Cardinal Byte Cybersecurity Risk and Management Company. If you're a CPA, tax professional, accountant, or bookkeeper, you know that your EFIN is your livelihood. But right now, the IRS is changing the rules. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a 15-minute cyber shield, a way to satisfy the IRS and audit-proof your practice without having to become a tech genius and spend 40 hours reading manuals and Googling. I think that's the key, right? This training applies to all other licensed professionals as well, like attorneys and insurance agents. So just some quick housekeeping rules. Please keep your audio on mute. Keep your video on because we always love to see everybody's face. And we'll handle all questions at the end of this session. So without further ado, let's kick off our meeting today. So here's our roadmap. Here's the agenda. First, we're going to look at the IRS loophole, how we meet the requirements with simple settings you already own. Second, we'll talk about the AI vault using Agentic technology to guard your data while you sleep. And we have Adamoli on the line who loves teaching this topic, so we'll dive in deep. Finally, the ghost exit, how to stop the liability breach the moment the tax season ends. We'll wrap up with some specific checklists and steps that you can take to implement today. So if you are watching live, or if you see this in post, make sure that you take the notes. Everybody will get a copy of this deck, And we'll also add some additional benefits and features as we walk along today. So let's begin. What are we trying to solve here? We're trying to solve here saving you $50,000 fine. As you know, the FTC has changed all of the mandates for this year. But before I begin, I want to share a story with you. Several weeks ago, I had a client. She begins to tell me how she paid $40,000 invoice to a hacker, what we call a BEC, or a business compromise, right? Email, which is, by the way, the number one threat along with wire fraud today with small businesses. What I found interesting is that she had her WISP, she had her firewall set up, she was using an MSP, but what she didn't have was the human firewall, the process of using safe words before the funds were transferred. This is the most critical step, and we're going to talk a little bit about that later as we go along. You know, I've worked with over 100 clients, and they all tell me the same thing. My IT guy is handling it. I want to be clear here. There's a difference between what I do and what your IT guy does. That is risk and compliance. He handles your network and setup, and Medici can validate that because he's in IT. You know, he gets all your components, your firewalls, your VPN, whatever it is. You got a black screen, he's handling that. What he's not doing is building a shield so you can pass audit. He's not there to make sure that the gaps between your operational compliance is relevant. He's not monitoring your logs for threats and attacks. He's not doing your documentation. That's where we come in. Stop spending hours using ChatGPT or Google to figure out how to document your assets and classify them on a WISP, and still wonder if you did them correctly. We're going to provide you some additional information today that'll walk you through the things that you could do, again, in 15 minutes a week. You know, I had another client, a 30-year-old veteran in his profession with a pillar in his community. Got that little notice that he's under audit. Unfortunately, he just had his EFIN suspended in the middle of tax season because he couldn't produce an access and control log to the IRS auditor. The truth was, he thought his IT guy, again, handled that. And because he thought that it was happening and he couldn't produce it, he's now under mandate to fix it. Listen, when you do it DIY yourself, you spend a lot of time trying to decipher the IRS Security 6 mandates and the FTC requirements. You're not a technical director. You're a licensed professional. So let us help you build that shield and give you back billable hours so you can build your business and serve your clients. And again, I'm going to go back to what we're rolling out in this school community. This is one of the things, even as a licensed professional, can help you grow your business and get grounded. So make sure at the end you contact us and you become a part of that community. Let's continue. Let's hear some testimonies from my clients, right? Like, I just want to give you a baseline. They all have one thing in common. They felt relieved, educated, and secured by utilizing our services. They understood the value we were bringing and how we could help them save time, money, and most importantly, keep the trust with their clients while being confident and audit ready. So without any further ado, I'm going to get into our technical training today. Cardinal Bytes is your compliance shield, right? A couple of weeks ago, and I just want to share, I walked into a CPA office and an IT guy was there swapping out their computers and installing a new server. And Medici could probably align with this. Naturally, as an auditor for over 20 years, I'm going to observe what's going on. I'm going to take a look and see what he's doing. You know, I see him take down the old server. I see him bag it. I'm thinking to myself, okay, what else is he going to do? He just puts it in a box, tapes it up. So my spidey senses start to kick off, like I like to call it. And I walk over to him and I say, hey, you know, what are your plans with the servers? How are you going to be removing, you know, the data and everything on it? Because, you know, we're just going to take it back and we're going to dump it. I said, okay, well, you know, that's great. What does that mean to me, right? I'll tell you why it concerned me. He was not following the normal chain of custody and methods of destruction. You want to know that your physical computer and data is being shredded, degaussed, or cryptographic erased. And if that's not happening and you're not tracking that from the start of off that rack to the final death, you're rendering yourself at risk. So I want to add that because that's part of this training today, right? When we have things that we're not aware of, we are relying on the expert to teach us, and we're relying on them to say they're doing it correctly. But you as a business owner is responsible for their actions. And we're going to talk about the things that you need to do today to make sure that you hold yourself accountable and others responsible. So the $50,000 documentation trap, right? I just shared with you 2 events with you where clients thought their IT guy was handling it and doing the right thing. That's a $50,000 mistake you cannot afford. And I'm going to repeat that. It's a $50,000 mistake you cannot afford. Again, the IT guy handles your connections, making sure your printer's working and the internet is fast, your router and firewall is installed properly. But what they don't manage is the system logs, the points of detection, the proof that the IRS and the FTC is requiring to show that you are monitoring, detecting, and preventing your PII from being exposed. Again, I just saw a firm lose their EFIM right in the middle of February due to an audit because it couldn't produce access logs. Don't let that be you, right? The auditor doesn't care about your adder. They care about the paperwork and the documentation and the proof that you're governing. A lot of people take a look at risk and governance. The risk is what the risk is, right? The threats, the systems, the people, but the governance is what you're doing to monitor those processes, and that's critical here. The auditor's black box, and I want to dive into this a little bit. These are the top things that an auditor will look for. Not only do they do observations when they're present, right? When an auditor walks in, they aren't looking for your code. They're looking for these 4 things. Do you have the logs? Is your user inventory clean? Can you prove your staff was trained? If you can't produce these on demand, you aren't compliant, period. When I walk into a prospective client, I'm observing behaviors, processes, and protocols that they have in place. I look at how much paperwork is left on the front desk with no one around and the cleaning lady sitting there wiping the monitor. I look at the open file cabinets with information exposed. I'm looking at the computer screen unlocked because Mary went to go get her morning coffee. I'm looking at the laptop sitting at the front door with security cables not on it, right? These are the things that I'm taking into my observations. External auditors are looking at those things as well. I then take observations and I'll go up and I'll say, show me your policy and procedures for X, Y, and Z. Maybe I'll say, hey, show me your policy and procedures for your laptop security. I already know that process is broken because of what I observed and saw physically. And then I'm going to be more concerned when I get to their WISP and their cyber assessment, and I'm drilling in on their computers and their configurations and what's set up. Do they have their configurations? Do they have a router, and have they left the default on, right? Passwords. Well, DC, is that a problem? Yeah, it's a shaking of the head, right? That's a major problem. We don't ever want to see that. But it happens over and over again, right? If you're not getting these simple processes correct, believe me, they're going to be picked up immediately. And that is what's going to trigger an auditor to go deep into your processes. They're going to ask for those procedures. They're going to ask for your policy. They're going to want to look at your incident response plan. And if you are not following what you wrote, because you maybe downloaded a template, plug and played it, and don't really know what you're required to do, you're putting yourself at risk. Okay? You're putting yourself at risk for that $50,000 fine. Let's get into secret number 1. I call this the loophole because you already pay for the tools you need to satisfy 80% of the audit. You just haven't turned the switch on. So let's talk a little bit about this. We're going to talk about the IT myth, which we already talked about, right? Compliance is about documentation. Really, that's all that matters. What you can prove you did and you don't do. That's all the IRS and the FTC or any external auditor, whether you're going for SOC 2, any auditor, right? They're all looking at your documentation. They're looking at your processes. But it's important that even if you have a WISP in place, right, that you signed it. I cannot tell you how many times someone has gotten fined because they produced a WISP, but they forgot to sign it. You know, it's a simple thing, but again, it's a process that you have to have in place. We provide a lot of checklists. I give a lot of checklists on my website. Go there, download them, use the checklist, protect yourself, especially if you don't have an IT staff on board or you don't have a technical person on board to help you protect your assets. So let's get into the checklist itself, right? We talked about the WISP being a live document. You sign it, you date it, you're the owner. If you have designated someone else in your firm to be that responsible person on the WISP, make sure they're signing and dating it, because they're the people the IRS is going to want to talk to, or the FTC auditor is going to want to talk to when they come in. They're going to be the one that they're going to drill down and ask them the questions about how they are doing these things. MFA. MFA is a mandatory security 6 from the IRS. You need to have MFA not only on your elements that you touch, but all of your external softwares that you touch as well. And if you haven't set up MFA, you need to go and do that. That's one of the things that I'm going to show you today, how quickly you can do, and make sure you implement it. It's a 15-minute protocol. Data encryption, end-to-end, for clients and document transfer, at rest and in transit. Encryption, without saying, again, we have two technical folks with me here today. I'm sure they would agree. Encryption is the key to everything, right? It scrambles your data. It protects your client's information. Without it, you're leaving your doors wide open, especially if you're using older operating systems. If you're on an older Windows or Mac and your operating system is out of sync, especially Windows 7 or 8, I see people still using them. And that's great, but those systems weren't built the way they're built today for security measures. I'm not saying run out and go get a new system. What I'm saying is make sure that you're implementing the fixes to ensure that those security measures are in place to protect your data, right? Annual training. See this all the time. I'll ask for the training logs because that's part of my process when I'm doing a risk assessment. Can't tell you how many times where I get they'll forward me 15 emails from the places where they took their training, but nothing was actually implemented. It's a very easy fix. What I all want everybody to do today is create a nice big folder on your external hard drive, not on your desktop. And I want you to create a bunch of different folders inside of that. One saying employee training, and I want you to download proof of all of that inside those folders and keep it offline. Anything you have, your WISP, any compliance procedures, anything pertaining to your protocols should always be kept offline on a hard drive that you back up regularly. And don't rely on your IT guy that says that they're backing up your hard drive and they're encrypting it while they're doing it, or that they're even testing it, because I doubt very highly that that's what's happening. Phishing is now 90% of what tax professionals get hacked on. So let's talk about this. There's an easy win here. Your email phishing detector is built right into your MS365. Everybody has access to this. Anybody on Microsoft can have access to this. What you do is you go to your security.microsoft.com, you click on policy and procedures, you click on threat policies, you click on anti-phishing under the rules action. You're going to select the default policy, like this. Look for spoofing intelligence, because that's key, and ensure it's toggled on. In that same policy, you're going to scroll down and you'll see check the box that says show first contact safety tip. This warns you if an email is from an address you don't chat with. It'll put a nice little banner across your email, and it'll actually protect your email from phishing. This is a free tool that you have access to. Take advantage of it. It's a very simple win. When you get off the call today, if you're not doing it already, because I know some people just like to jump in and do it. Again, you'll get access to all of this data at the end. But this is a quick win for you. 15 minutes. That's all it takes to build a cyber shield with tools you already have. Right? If you use Microsoft, again, MFA setup. It takes 60 seconds to do this. Follow these steps. Enabling and enforcing MFA authentication in a single business is the single business deterrent to business email compromise. We talked earlier about how one of my clients paid a hacker $40,000 on an invoice because they were able to compromise her email and sit in the middle of that. It's one of the biggest threats out there. You could do a Google or ChatGPT search if you want. But what I'm sharing with you is priceless, right? And I hate to kind of mock that, but it's priceless. These are simple steps. Go to admin.microsoft.com, sign into your global admin account, click users, active users on the left sidebar, click multi-factor authentication button at the top of the list, select the user and click enable. That's all you need to do. Ensure the status is changed to enforce, and the user will be prompted to set up either their phone on their next login or however you directed that, because there are a few extra ways that you can actually send it to them and ask them to set up. But we all get it now, right? You go sign in, they send you a nice little message, they want the code. That's MFA in a bucket, in a nutshell. It's a very simple fix. Set it up. Audit tracking, right? The paper trail. Let's talk a little bit about proving baseline defense. You need to maintain a compliance binder. Again, keep it in an external hard drive or a thumbnail. I don't care what you use, right? I always tell everybody to do digital, but there's some folks who like to print. Keep it in a binder, lock that up, and keep it away from everybody. Every January, go in, review your WISP, make the updates, system assets, whatever it is that you need to update, print it or download it, sign it, date it, and put it in your binder, whether that be the physical or the digital, right? Export your user's MFA status. Get the report. You can use Agentic AI to set up these and give them to you. We're going to talk about Agentic AI, right, and how to do this. Make sure that you're saving this. This is your proof that you have this and that you've set it up. And then, most importantly, create a memo. A simple memo naming the firm's security coordinator, whoever's in charge or responsible for your security. And if that's you, put your name on there, put the date on it. That complies with the FTC and the IRS, how it was designated. It's proof. Again, everything is about documentation and proof. When you're filing tax somebody's taxes, it's all about proof, right? When they get audited. Let's talk about the AI vault. This is like one of my favorite, Agentic Oversight, the 24/7 robot guard that watches your SSN and your data while you sleep. Hackers don't sleep. They're using bots to scan your firm 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and looking for the opportunity and the weaknesses. To fight a bot, you need a bot. Agentic AI doesn't just watch, it acts. If someone tries to download 500 tax returns at 3 a.m. from an IP address in another country, the AI can be programmed to kill that connection before you even wake up. I had a client call me at 9 p.m. on a Friday night a couple of weeks ago. Not even her site. It was her husband's site. He runs an e-commerce store. His phone started to ping like crazy. Usually that means he was getting sales. But when he received over 3,000 pings in a matter of an hour, he knew there was a problem, and she called me. We immediately identified that their website was under what we call a card for bot attack. And basically, to break that down, is hackers will use websites and their payment portals to try to run credit card numbers through to see what goes through and identify the good ones so they can actually commit fraud on those cards. And he happened to have a weak payment. And any of you that accept payments from your clients through a website and a payment portal, you need to make sure it's locked down correctly. If it's not, again, if you have an IT guy, whoever you're using, MSP, you make sure that they've locked down that payment portal, because it can happen to anybody. Okay? But they deploy a bot and it just keeps pinging. The moral of the story is we had to shut down her website. They lost business for almost 4 days. We had to rebuild a brand new website, and we had to shut down her merchant service account and start a brand new one. So I never want to see that happen to anybody here. That's why we're going to teach you a little bit about the AI vault and using Agentic AI. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Adam Oley. I wanted him to talk. The truth and security is only good as the tools that humans are sitting behind, right? Talk to us about AI Agentic, what it does, how we can use it, and the simple, maybe give one example of something simple that they can implement today using that tool and the difference.
Okay, interesting. So I have actually stolen a line from Michelle. In order to fight a bot, you need a bot, right? So basically, I think a lot of people sleep on how powerful AI agents are. But in terms of how AI agents work, they work in 3 different categories. So most people tend to just use the first category. So the first category is the offload, right? That is, you just give it mundane tasks that you don't want to do yourself, but are simple or repetitive, or some of them could even be one-off in nature. So let's take, for example, booking flights or booking appointments, right? That is very easy work for an AI agent to automate for you. But also we have 2 other types of categories. We have the extend and we have the elevate. So for elevate agents, right, it helps a person to do work that you do already or you currently do, but in a more efficient way. It makes you more efficient at what you do. That is for the, would I say, the extend, right? The elevate rather. But for the extend, it helps you to perform work that you cannot currently do, right? That is improving not just your efficiency, but your performance. So take, for example, myself, I don't know how to code, but I've been able to build websites. I've been able to, perform automations, integrations. Why? Because I've been able to use AI agents that actually extend my, would I say, performance, right? So basically, we need to always think about AI agents in these 3 different ways. That is the offload, the elevate, and the extend, right? You do not need to be a cybersecurity expert to use AI agents to perform your cybersecurity related tasks. So that's why you need to listen to the pros like Michelle, get your checklist. I'm a very big fan of checklists, right? Get your checklist right, and of course, make sure that your prompt engineering is right. You're prompting your AI agents the right way, and you're getting the desired output or outcome. So I'll give it back to the pro.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's critical. Listen, the cost of a small business breach to recover from a breach today is the average is 120 to 150,000, right, for a cyber attack. Using AI agentics, and there are layers, and there's different types of AI, right? You have ChatGPT, you have Claude, you have this, you have that. There's so many of the LLMs that are out there today that can assist you. But I do want to call out the difference between them. When you're using like a ChatGPT in the free version, especially if you're using it to build any kind of like Excel or data clients, any information on your clients, even if you're asking a question about a client, you should be using a pro series, because the free version is learning from what you input, and that's how it grows. The paid version of these tools is not using that information, and that's critical. So if you are putting any type of data into these tools, you need to make sure that you have a paid version of those tools to protect your client information. I don't even care if it's a client name. You should not be putting anything or any kind of research into a paid version, because they learn from you. So let's talk about how to deploy AI protection, right? There's the manual way of what you're kind of doing right now. You're checking every email and file for leaks or whatever you're doing, right? You're trying to figure out what your day looks like. You're building your checklist, what client you have to follow up, what tax returns you have to complete, what information you need from what business to gather. You can implement AI Agentic to handle all those tasks and send emails even directly on your behalf to follow up, right? If someone tries to download, and I want to go back to the cybersecurity element of this, if someone tries to download 500 tax returns at 3 a.m. in the morning from another IP in a country, the AI will kill that connection before you even wake up. And I'll say that again, because this is about moving from hope to certainty. We're using ISO 2700 standards, the gold standards of security, and automating them. That's what you can do with an AI agentic tool. So how it works for a CPA, the AI scans emails for phishing. Fake emails try to steal passwords. And it'll watch how the data is shared. If an AI employee tries to email a spreadsheet full of social security numbers to a personal Gmail account, the robot pops up a warning saying, hey, this is sensitive data. Are you sure? Right? You could lay this right on top of your email and have it monitor and watch what you're doing. Monitor everything that it does to help protect you. You know, it monitors the data leakage, and that's critical. And it creates identity safety without a CPA having to check for a single log. It'll also build those logs for your proof, right? So AI is critical, and it's very easy to use, but it's complicated. Most AI tools, you need to understand how to set them up, right? I'll give you an example. TaxDome is a platform that many small firms use to manage their practice. They've recently added an AI feature that acts like an automated office manager, right? It uses AI to automatically sort clients' documents and, more importantly, track who has access to what. It ensures that only the right people are looking at private tax returns. It's like a digital file cabinet that locks itself. If a task is missing a required security step, like an e-signature or an encrypted upload, the robot flags it. You know, it flags it on a simple dashboard, right? It monitors the document security and the access control, ensuring the firm stays compliant with the IRS rules automatically. And that's what AI Agentic can do, right? I want Adamoli to talk a little bit about system prompting and what we mean, how we can set these up using system prompt. Because I think it's critical how you can give commands like identify key assets, set up guardrails, deploy canaries. This is great, like you can use these terms, but it's all about the prompting. So talk to us, Adamoli, about prompting and how to use AI correctly.
Okay, so interestingly, we've all heard the term garbage in, garbage out. And I think that is very, very much in line with working with AI. Prompt engineering is simply put how you give commands to your AI tool to execute for you. But with my experience using AI, I have noticed or I have observed that the simpler your prompt, right, the better for you, right? So two things: you want to keep your prompts as simple as possible, and you want to keep your prompts as direct as possible. That is, try to avoid ambiguity in your language when creating your prompts, right? So that is very, very important. And also, I think I have seen a lot of people in business do this when it comes to using AI tools. They just think that the AI tool is a know-all and can execute things for them. You always need to review any outputs that AI gives you, because AI does make mistakes, right? So very importantly, work on your prompt engineering. You can join our school community. We can teach you. We have resources, right, that can help you on that. And also make sure to always review the work that is done for you with AI tools. And of course, in terms of the setup, right? Like Michelle actually mentioned, the setup phase is very, very important, right? Because for most AI-enabled platforms, the setup phase is that phase that is like planning in audits, in the world of audits. You need to understand the business environment. You need to understand the business ecosystem, right? And that is what would I say, the setup phase typically requires. So you want to ensure that you are inputting the right answers, right, to any prompts, any requests, any requirements, right, that you are faced with at the setup phase. Because a lot of tools, a lot of platforms, it's difficult to go change some of the information that you've actually inputted in the setup phase. So very important, take that setup phase very seriously, ensure your prompt engineering is right, and of course, always review work that you can give to AI to perform.
Yeah,
Yeah, over
absolutely.
to
Listen, prompt engineering is critical, right? And if you're not sure what we mean by prompt engineering for layman's terms is just the way you direct and give directions to AI. So AI Agentic can be set up, right? A lot of people have MSP providers. A lot of my clients work with third-party vendors that tell them that they're monitoring the systems 24/7. They're looking for hacks. They're protected. I'm going to tell you right now, nothing is 100%. You need to set up an AI agentic tool to monitor and be that guardrail for that third-party vendor. The FTC passed the mandate this year about verifying your third-party vendor protocols, right? The security of them. Vendor oversight is so critical, it's not even funny. And using an AI agentic tool to do that is the best way to help protect yourself. And I am going to share with you, anybody who is using an MSP, right? I want you to ask all of your MSPs these two questions because it's critical, especially if you outsource. When you use an MSP, you're outsourcing the execution of that IT, which is great. But you cannot outsource the responsibility of that data. If it's breached, even with that MSP, you're ultimately responsible in the eyes of the IRS and the FTC. So these are two quick questions that you can ask your MSP, and I tell everybody to do this. Can you provide a responsibility matrix that defines exactly what alerts your SOC or Security Operations Center monitors 24/7 versus what's automated or ignored? Many firms assume the MSP is watching everything. In reality, many MSPs only monitor up and down statuses. Is your server on? You need to know if they're monitoring behavior, red flags, and that they're looking for active threat hunting, right? Not just passive monitoring, right? And then I want you to ask them, what is your documented incident response plan for our firm? And what is your guarantee SLA or service level agreement for containing a live threat? Those two questions are very critical when you're using a third-party MSP, right? Because if they're going to respond to your threats in 8 hours, you're at risk. The time to remediate and the time to detect are critical. You want to make sure that they're not putting your firm at risk. Again, who is responsible for the legal obligation in notifying the regulators? Who's responsible ultimately is you. If an MSP responds, well, we use X, Y, and Z antivirus, you're 100% protected, there's a major red flag. Nobody's, again, 100% protected. You can actually set up your AI agentic. So if you're using, let's say, ChatGPT Pro, you would go in there and a simple prompt would be, hey, I need you to be the master monitor for my MSP provider, and you give it the name that sits on top of my system. I need you to put up guardrails, identify key assets, locate every folder containing PII, set up guardrails that if somebody tries to access this, that you send an alert to me immediately via email. And if anybody tries to implement or put fake files, alert you if they're touched. So what that AI will do is it will automatically start monitoring your system in a live component. It'll take a look at things that don't look anomaly. Again, there are a lot of commands that you can put into place. You can put this into place for data loss, for endpoint protection, anything. You can ask it to monitor all of your routers and see if anybody opens up a port somewhere that shouldn't be open, and it'll alert you. Again, you may have tools that help with this, but this is your secondary way of protecting yourself. It's oversight. That's all it is. Identify all assets. Do these simple things. Ask it to do that. It'll map all your network drives holding PII. It'll scan your OneDrop folder for SSN patterns that may not be truncated, that might be wide open for a hacker to get in. Okay, let's face it. Last week, major hack happened, right? With a major company. It was all over the news. They were able to infiltrate this company and shut down their data, delete their data. Not even hack them or do ransomware. They deleted 30 years worth of data that their systems were built on. You'll never recover that. So again, using Agentic AI, you don't need to write Python code. You must be able to write system instructions that are simple, that it can understand. Right? That's all it is. It becomes an autonomous agent that can think, reason, and act on your behalf. It's a quick DIY for yourself to help protect and add that second layer, right? It can sit there and monitor all of your logs. It can give you everything that you need. It can look for violations. I like to say use Copilot, Microsoft Copilot Studio, definitely a DIY leader. Go in, sign up. It'll even teach you what you're looking for. Say, hey, I want to know if my system is protected. It'll start telling you commands and prompts itself. It's that easy to use. And again, join our school community. We're going to be teaching this stuff. Very easy to use, though. So, implementation. Deploy an AI to verify user identity against behaviors. Set up an auto log on all admin changes to an uneditable vault. Monitor software for backdoor updates. Set AI to auto disable any accounts leaking. Critical, right? All of these things are easy to do. I'm telling you, Microsoft Graph API logs, it can do everything. Make sure that you're kind of setting this up today. Go in, play around with it. And if you need help, reach out to somebody. Reach out to us. Join our community. We'll help you. So again, we talked a lot about AI today. I'm sorry, my slideshow is frozen for a moment. Give me a moment because we are frozen, which is great. Well, the next thing I'm going to move on to is we're going to talk about the 60-second ghost. So while this is reloading, I'm going to shut down for a minute and remove this off, but I'm going to continue with our webinar today because we just froze. There we go. So let's talk about the 60-second exit ghost. Tax season's ending. I'm going to tell you this is the number one thing that the IRS looks for when they come in. They look for ghost users. On April 16th, you have one agenda. Make sure that you vanish any ghost credentials, not only on your systems, that you kill access, but on seasonal workers who work remotely, that you're killing all of their access as well. It's a simple checklist. It's not complicated. Put a reminder on your calendar and take the action to do it, right? Those ghost credentials will cost you big in an audit. I can't tell you how many times I have walked in, and I just conducted an assessment not too long ago. And sure enough, I run a command, and I see a whole bunch of users, seasonal workers no less, from last year, still having access to the system. I had this one client. He had this kid from college helping him out during the tax crunch season. The problem was that they were still allowing access to their server because they didn't kill everything. And because he worked remotely, they never removed him. He forgot to remove him. So this ex-employee, who can actually log into everything at any time still, was at a I forgot where he was, but I want to say it was at a coffee shop with, using public Wi-Fi on his laptop. He still had access to everything. He wind up what they call a man in the middle. Someone got access to his entire laptop, was able to hack through the credentials. He didn't need anything because his passwords and everything were already saved on the system. And he was able to log into my client's information straight through a direct logon, not even a hack. Could you imagine that? I want you to think about that for a minute, right? This is why ghost users who have high privilege access to accounts need to be killed. April 16th, you cut everything off. It's your responsibility to plug the holes and take the action to prevent them from happening. Remember that. You own what's going on. You need to make sure that their VPN is disconnected. You need to make sure that they have no email access. You need to make sure that any access to even if it's Dropbox, it's killed. A lot of the times they won't have access to, servers and stuff, but bookkeepers that you use might, right? They might have access to your tax software. And if you're no longer with that bookkeeper, you want to make sure that you're killing that access. It's important. So you want to revoke all SaaS, any software that's out there that they have access to. You want to wipe the PII right off their data, make sure that they don't have any folders, anything saved with client data, and you want them to show you proof, right? This is, you want to kill their VPN. This isn't just deleting a user. It's a total scrub of the company's data from their personal devices. This is how you prevent the post-tax breach, right? You can even use Copilot. Like I said, you could set up Copilot, the Agentic AI, right, to make sure that it does all of this for you. And offboard. You could command it to do an offboard process. Adamoli, when we talk about Agentic AI, right, and we talk about setting something like this up, what's the number one benefit you think of implementing something like this?
Okay, interesting. I think I'm the right person to ask this kind of a question because of my background in audit. So number one, this is a low-hanging fruit when it comes to loopholes to access, right? So you cannot manipulate data that you don't have access to. I think that is period. And that's the reason why Michelle is always, emphasizing on, the different access points, the different touch points, wherein people, would I say hackers, what's the word now? Would I say benefit from your vulnerability? Yeah, for the lack of, a better word, right? But basically, the hackers are always looking for points of vulnerability to gain access. So with that being said, right, a ghost worker is a very, very easy access point. So it's a no-brainer. It's not something that you should be reminded about, right? It's something that should be part of your process. And that's why I'm a very big fan of checklists, right? So once you have somebody who's leaving your firm, leaving your company, right, you need to go through this checklist as part of the offboarding process. So a lot of organizations are more savvy when it comes to the onboarding process, but the offboarding process, if not properly performed, leaves you vulnerable to cyber attacks. And that is very important to block this opportunity by going through the checklist and doing the necessary procedures.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you as you know, you have deep background just like I do in financial institutions and auditing. We know what they look for. It's critical that you follow these processes. It's a simple step, but make sure that you do it. Um, I'll tell you the truth. Like, one of the things that I see a lot of people struggle with is putting a process in place. It's a simple checklist, right? You're going to revoke any kind of licenses immediately. You're going to change any access roles that they have. You're going to delete them as a user. If you plan on using them next year, then again, keep them, but make sure you limit their, force proof this and make sure that you limit their access. You're going to set up the vendor oversight questionnaire. You're going to email the proof of deletion. You need to make sure that you have proof. Write yourself a memo. I tell everybody that. Write a memo on this day. I did X, Y, and Z and eliminated, these users. This is what I did. It's simple steps that will protect you in an audit. The tracking, disable, screen print it. Screen print that you got that they're gone, right? Run a report for seasonal IDs. I always say run it May and June, proving 0 login attempts. That's the golden ticket, right? That you know that no one's accessing that data after the fact. And then update your WISP, most importantly, that you've done this process, that you've done the offboarding process, right? And that you verified and that you terminated access to wherever users that you needed to, especially with seasonal remote workers. The added bonus here, right? You're responsible again for your vendors now. The FTC made it very clear with their new mandates. You need to validate your third-party vendors are actually protecting your third-party data. If your portal provider gets hacked, the IRS looks at you. You must have their SOC 2 report and a 72-hour breach notice in writing. You need to take a look at that contract very clearly. You need to make sure that you're implementing things to protect yourself. It's a new requirement, right? The IRS and the FTC Safeguard actually ask you now to verify this, and they want to see that you've actually done this. So here's a quick checklist and questions that you should ask every vendor if you haven't done so. I know this seems a lot, right? But you need to also add this to your list to show proof that you've completed your due diligence. And you can prove that you've vetted your vendors and they comply. Review your contract and ensure that you are protected and how they are handling a breach and notification should something happen. Responsibility is key with this new mandate, right? Do they have an independent audit of their security? If so, you want a copy of that. You tell them to send it to you and you read it. You understand it, right? Did they pass that audit? Were there remediations asked? You want to know that. Have they fixed those problems that were identified in that audit, right? Encryption. You want that encryption guarantee, verification that the data is encrypted, both at rest and in transit. We talked about this earlier. There's the new CBOM that just came out for quantum. A lot of companies, large major companies will now need to comply with that in the future. So those are things that we're going to see in the future in 2027. Preparing for that now will actually help protect your company in the future. Do they allow you to enforce MFA on their software? If they don't, that might be a red flag for you. Maybe look for another vendor. Just an FYI, right? The audit tracking. Don't just email them. You want to store all the responses, any information they give you, again, in an off-site, I always say hard drive or thumbnail, put it in your vault, label it, vendor assessment folder, and keep all of your different vendors that you have contracts with or whoever you're using, all of that information in there. Again, you need to validate those vendors. And if you go to the FTC website, it'll give you a list of all the things that you need to check on a vendor now. Make sure that you're doing that. If you terminated them, you also need proof. Again, create a simple memo. That's the biggest thing, right? Protect yourself. What's not documented didn't happen. That's the way auditors look at it. What's not documented did not happen. So the law of the land, right? This isn't just a suggestion. The FTC Safeguard rule and the IRS Pub make this a requirement for your EFIM. If you don't have a WISP, you're operating illegally in the eyes of the IRS right now. And I want to say that again. If you don't have a WISP, you shouldn't be operating, especially if you haven't done a risk assessment. I hear a lot this from my clients. I don't have time for this. You're right. You're a CPA. You're not a cyber expert, right? You're being forced kind of, especially small businesses with less than 10 employees, right? You're licensed. You're a licensed professional. You're there for one reason, to help your clients. Unfortunately, with all the mandates, if you don't have an IT staff or somebody on board, you're ultimately responsible. You're that key person that needs to make sure that you treat this audit the same for everything. The IRS doesn't care how big you are or how many employees you have. You could be one person or you can have 500,000 people. They're going to audit you the same way. And that's something that you need to understand, right? Let us help you with that. If you have a problem, if you don't have the resources, Cardinal Bites here can help you. The Audit-Proof buildup, right? Imagine for a second, a week before tax season, you get the IRS audit. They want your WISP, they want your logs, they want your training records. Are you prepared? Can you comply? That's the first question I ask anybody, any new client. Are you prepared and can you comply? And the truth of the matter is there's so much technical jargon to understand with all of these mandates that most people don't even know how to comply. We do the best that we can, but you really need to employ an expert that can help you walk through that, right? This is the first question, again, I ask everyone. Your EIFIN is your license to practice. Without that, you don't have a license to practice. If you lose it, again, think about my 30-year-old customer. He's been practicing for 30 years, right in the middle of audit season. He is now suspended because he couldn't produce access logs. I don't want to see that happen to you, right? So if all of this training, if all it did today was guarantee your EFIN stays active for the next 10 years or gives you back 100 hours a year of worry time and provides you legal protection to sleep at night through an IRS inquiry, would it be worth it for you? That's the question. Would it be worth protecting the legacy of your frame you spent years building from one single mistake? Would it be worth protecting your family's financial security and making sure that you upscale fines? Wouldn't it be great to just finally walk in your office and say, with absolute confidence, I know that I'll pass my next audit. I've got nothing to worry about, right? What would be the price of this for you? What would this matter to you? What would this be worth to you? So I'm going to tell you, stop drowning in the red tape. I put together for you, anybody on this live call today and anybody after the fact, right? An offer for anybody attending this. I want you to be part of a revolutionary AI system that I'm building to make your life easier with a click of a button. And you'll be ready and compliant for your next audit in minutes, not days, not weeks, not hours. I'm building a brand new tool that can get you compliant ready in a matter of seconds with a click of a button. It's mapped to over 22 cybersecurity frameworks. It will give you deep analysis. It'll monitor your system against threats. It'll give you remediation steps. It'll build your WISP. It'll build all of your policy and procedures custom made. It'll build your IOP plan, right? It has an AI employee on top of it to give you monitoring. It'll automatically deploy your risk assessment and identify any opportunities in your system. This tool is your one and done tool that I'm giving to all of you who join this call today and anyone who sees this after the fact. I'm going to provide this tool to you if you sign up for a 15-minute cyber risk review. You'll get this free for 3 months. We're in the process of building it, so anybody new here is going to be the first to try it out. And I'm excited about this tool because it's going to save you time and money, and most importantly, give you peace. Let's look at what it normally would cost, right? So if I came in, most small businesses as a cybersecurity compliance partner, it would cost you about $8,000, right, to add all of these components. This is what it's costing yourself to do this yourself, right? You need to do your risk reviews, which, again, if you're paying somebody externally, you might be paying them more than that, right? You need to do your gap analysis, your executive summaries, all of your written policy and procedures, your IRS, anything, your vendor management. This tool will handle everything, right? And if you partner with us, I'm going to make sure that you get your free risk review today. That's a savings of $279. I'm offering a free risk review of your platform. So just think about saving about $6,000 a year by bringing us on as a partner. I'm excited for you, right? You're going to save $297. You'll be our first to try our upcoming AI compliance platform. And I'm actually even going to give it to you for free for 6 months by signing up with a review today. So I think this, without saying, this is something that you cannot pass, especially if you're doing it yourself. At least get the free risk review and see where your gaps still are and help you protect your systems and your data. So with that said, I'm going to move on. In order to sign up today for that 15-minute review, you're going to go to www.cardinalbytes.com/shield. Again, this is limited for the first 20 people that sign up today. I'm going to also add a special feature here. So we have Adamoli, the man who's the 1%, the top 2%. Every time I see this screen, I die because I love it. Talk to us a little bit about school, because I know that we're going to be wrapping up soon. But talk to us about school. Talk to us about what you're doing, and how they can get in touch with you.
Okay, so I think we should actually add the invite link for the school community on the comment section or the description.
It's there.
I think
we put it there.
Okay. Oh, wow, interesting. That is great. So basically, we have 4 goals to achieve with the school community. Number 1 is for people to come on to learn. Number 2 is to network. Number 3 is to collaborate, and number 4 is to elevate. Basically, so we have resources. We have a classroom. We have a calendar. Every Thursday, you get the cybersecurity webinar. For example, we have more webinars coming your way. And of course, we have the principal of the school on the call today. Modise, please let me know if I gave a good summary of what our school community is about and what people stand to benefit as well.
I'm just going to stop for 1 second because I have a hard stop now at 2:00, but I'm going to leave this up and running and I'm just going to jump off. You continue to go.
Okay. I guess we can have a quick summary from Modise and we'll call it a wrap.
Sure. Hi everyone again. Modise here. So yes, as Ademola is stating, school is primarily for your development as a business professional. Because we do get a lot of inquiries to people that are interested in obviously being part of a top 2% podcast. But unfortunately, not everybody actually meets the criteria for this, right? So we've decided to actually create the school community as almost an incubator to actually help provide the resources, the structure, and the necessary frameworks to actually allow you to develop into becoming somebody that is not only capable of being featured on our podcast, but on a variety of podcasts as well. So that is really what this community is for. It's kind of us using our previous insights and like guest expertise just to kind of give back and to allow our community to grow and to develop into the type of professionals and to really develop their careers into respectable professionals and ideally become the niche branding and voice of their community or their space and niche.
I love it. I jumped right back in. I'm going to hop onto my call, but I just wanted to add, listen, I want to thank Adam Oli for his expertise today in the Agentic field. Modise, I mean, listen, the community that you both are building, I'm so proud to be part of that. I look forward to actually helping build that. So anybody who's actually looking to expand their skill sets, join a community that's really truly here to support you, this is the one that you want to be on. So Adam Oli, I'm going to end this today. It was nice to meet everybody. I hope everybody got a lot from this. And again, we'll follow up with everything that we have going on. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye, Adam Oli.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Again, become the #1 podcaster with that man. Get on. Go find him. King of Dems, baby. Bye.
Let's go.